Looks like we're live.
Perfect.
Hello, welcome to Popcast on the Rocks.
Hey
It's
everyone.
April
Hi
4th.
John.
Yeah, hi. How you doing?
Good. How are you?
Pretty good. It feels like we were just here, just recording the podcast. And
Yeah.
we were.
The days go quick when you got that midweek break or
Mhm.
midweek Westworld mini spoiler casts are,
Yeah.
you know, they're connecting our Saturdays now.
Go check those out, everyone. They're on
Yeah,
YouTube and here on Twitch.
that's right. All of our
Um,
thoughts about Westworld so far. I'm
yeah,
intrigued by the season so far, so I think we've had lots
yes,
of good conversations about it.
yes. More sci-fi stuff today.
Yes. Actually, it's
Um,
something I wanted to tie into Westworld a little bit. I don't
okay,
think like too spoilery, for
okay,
either show, but I think there's
okay.
some common crossover.
Yeah, so we're talking, we'll set this show up, everyone, as the beginning bit is news, which I feel like
Mhm.
there hasn't been too much that has stuck out to us. And then later we'll get into Alter Carbon from Netflix, and that will be very spoilery. So we'll give you
Yes.
another warning there. But well, catch everyone up. How was your week been? Especially if people haven't seen the midweek episode.
True, true. Not too much going on, honestly. Um, just work from home, catch up on shows, both good and not so good. I said this on our Wednesday cast, but I'll bring it up again because I watched another episode. I'm following popular Netflix opinion and watching Tiger King right now.
Okay.
Um, so I watched another episode of that, and I'm actually finding it very fascinating.
Okay.
It's sort of half terrifying and weird and strange and like, "Oh my god, I'm watching this." And then the other half is like, "Ooh, I'm watching this." Like, I'm so in now. Like,
Nice.
and I've it's sort of weirdly for me, it's a little bit like watching Real Housewives because it's real
Sure.
people and it's like this drama that's centered around a thing. And then you can go like check up on these people afterwards and like see what happens and like
Right.
where they're at and stuff like that. So I was reading a little bit, of like interviews um the documentary, like following the documentary with the cast members and stuff like that and checking up where they are. And it's very interesting. So
Nice.
yep, I'm swept up in that national obsession as well. So
Okay.
anybody want to hit me up about Tiger King, let me know. I
I
got
wonder how
theories. You
long
got theories.
I wonder how long this will last. Is
I
it
don't
like we got
know.
the rest of one more week and
Right.
it's done?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I'm sure there's always going to be something that's going to capture, this kind of like hot moment.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, this seems to be the thing for, at least a couple weeks. Probably not too much longer because it's so short. It's only 7 episodes and it's just, there's nothing else. You can't watch anything else
Yep.
related to it. But I
Maybe
think it's sort
maybe
of
Bravo will pick it up.
well, they're already talking about making, some sort of movie or TV show
Mhm.
out of it. So who knows? Um, but I think the other thing that's probably sort of keeping it in the attention cycle is Netflix's, top 10 that they introduced
Um,
recently, that
sure.
top 10 in the US and top 10 overall and stuff like that.
I haven't really
It's
seen
it
that.
Yeah, it pops up on my home screen now on Netflix. When you're first signing into your profile. It appears in different places, much like how you sign into your Netflix profile and sometimes like the continue watching is right at the top, but
Yeah.
then sometimes
Mhm.
it's like my list is right at the top
Yep.
or something else random is. So yeah, so it like bops around
Okay.
much the same as that. Um but yeah, so they've got their top 10, most watched shows, and I don't know, I think it's an interesting concept, but probably definitely directing people, you know, towards things that maybe they wouldn't watch normally or
Yeah.
wouldn't consider, and now we're considering because, hey, it's in the top 10, so why not?
Yep. I have an issue often with the algorithms that they use, not just
Yeah.
Netflix, but any of the services, because they always talk about how you launch Netflix, and what you experience as Netflix is completely different than someone
Totally.
else.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
because I don't know, the algorithms, they think you just want one thing. Usually,
Yeah.
it's like it's YouTube. You watch a video on something to fix
Yep.
something that I need to
Yep.
watch one time, and now, yeah, oh yeah, flood me with this. So it's not smart at all. It's really stupid.
Right.
Netflix has it too, where like you want to know if you sometimes you wouldn't know something's on there unless you search for it specifically.
Right.
And I'm sorry, people aren't just flat cardboard pieces. They maybe want a variety of topics. So it's good that they should have, as long as it's like an unfettered real list. Like
Right.
give us a top 10, give us a top 50, whatever that
Right.
everybody is watching, so we can kind of dial into that.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of fun on the one hand, and it does sort of like universalize the experience.
Hmm.
If everybody can see that and everybody can be like, "Oh, this is um, what's top, in on Netflix," or I know they sort it by country as well.
Yep.
Um, so I mean, that is sort of like a universalizing experience, although I wonder um how they count it and how they arrive at the top 10 at any given
Yeah.
moment, and like what makes a show land
Watch
in the top
time,
10.
but like watch time per episode or watch time like in total, or
Right.
yeah.
Although I mean, because I was thinking about this because they did this when The Witcher first came out. They were like, 76 million accounts have watched The Witcher,
Mm,
and they'd only counted like accounts that had watched I think it was only like 2 or 3 minutes.
okay.
And they said like, well, that's, that to us says that's intentional. Like if you watch 2 or 3
Mhm.
minutes, you mean to watch it. And it's
Sure.
like, well, sure, maybe. Like, I don't
Mhm.
know. It just seems like so short to
Yep.
consider like watched.
They're definitely
So
very manipulative in the whole
yeah.
thing, because like it's the same thing with ratings. You get a
Right.
thumbs up or a thumbs down, and then it's
Right.
this you would like based on your ratings.
Yes.
Well, that was either a yes or a good or a bad, and then I'm
Right.
still not seeing what other people think of it. I'm
Right.
just seeing what you think I'll think of it.
Right.
It's like you're
Exactly.
not that smart,
Yeah,
like just
you see like matches. You don't see like
yeah.
how well something is liked. You
Yep.
see like, oh, this is like a 97% match for you.
Yep.
And sometimes I'm like, but is it really? Like, I don't think so.
A bunch of the like automate, your list up top,
Yep.
recommended based on what you have watched.
Yep.
That's fine. But then you should have your top 10, top 50, whatever lists in different genres that you
Right.
can needle down into. And
Right.
then just like a browse by everything by genre.
Right.
You
Yeah.
should be able to do that. There's no reason it can be down to, because you'll go through sometimes and it's just this endless thing of like categories, but they're not in any order. It's
Right.
just like what we recommend to you in all these various categories, and you won't
Right.
even see a number of categories if you haven't watched something in that category.
Or yeah, or near that category.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
it's a
Yeah.
mess. It's ridiculous.
Yeah,
But
sometimes I almost prefer when you're in a title and you can see more like this.
sure.
So
Yep.
sometimes I feel like that's almost the best for me, because I feel like recommendations for me never they're sometimes what I want, but more often than not, like they're things that I'm like, maybe, and then I don't actually end up watching them. You know what I
Yep.
mean? Like I'm sort of like,
Mhm.
I could, but there's so many other things to watch. I'm not really sure that I want to take a chance on this.
Yep.
So yeah,
Yep.
it's an interesting platform, and obviously,
Hmm.
sort of designed to be user specific, but then I think fails in a lot of very
Yep.
important ways. So
I like very much, and I think that this should be um, the strategy of a lot more stores of what
mhm.
the Apple App Store does.
Oh yeah,
So
okay.
a few years back, they redesigned it, and you get the homepage, which is your today or whatever,
Right.
and it's featured stuff. So
Mhm.
it's new things that might be more relevant right now. They do interviews with developers and they
Sure.
put together lists of best for this kind of thing, and it's done in a very like um I don't know, kind of elegant way, I guess.
Yeah.
Very newspaper, magazine, digital magazine kind of style.
Yeah.
And then you can still go then to the categories. You can look at the top
Right.
charts in anything and you can delve
Hmm.
into all those. And I think it's worlds better than something like when Netflix does their videos or something like Nintendo does on the Switch. I don't
Right.
know if you've heard anyone talk about the Switch Nintendo eShop.
A
Such
little, but
garbage. It's such garbage.
yeah,
There's
overwhelmingly negative
yeah,
is my understanding.
you can't review anything, you can't hardly sort or look at it's just it's a if you want discoverability is terrible. Like
Sure.
there's so many great games on the Switch, but there's so much junk too. And you need to be able to sift through that and comb through it. And there's no way to do it. There's no way. You might be looking for certain titles and you will not find them if you don't look up on the internet best of lists.
Oh,
And
okay.
if you don't, unless you
Yeah,
know
that's
the name of the game.
right. That seems silly.
Hmm.
Then you're either having to do an extra step that you really shouldn't be needing to do. Like that isn't a user friendly platform then.
No. A lot of
So,
games get released to the store, and
mhm.
then there's so many games coming out next week, they're out of the featured or new releases section, and they're just gone. You're not
Oh,
gonna see
sure.
them again.
Yeah.
It's just
So yeah,
that's
so if you don't jump on it, then like where do you find
yeah.
it ever again?
So it's like a good platform for all these indies and stuff, but it's not compared to like Steam where
Right.
you can see very positive feedback for whatever for something or very negative or whatever. So
Yeah.
oh, hey, you drink anything this week?
I am, as we briefly chatted about in our spoiler cast. It's going to be National Beer Day in a few days, so I
Mhm.
decided that I would drag out one of these traditional German beer steins that my
Oh,
grandmother gave
nice.
me from her hometown, Bernkastel Kues, and I'm drinking a Bitburger. So
Nice.
German all the way today.
I've got German too. You
Nice.
should have told me though. I would have poured it in a German mug as well. But I have a Utepils. I guess it's not a traditional German style, I guess, but it's
That's all
broom
right.
broomstacker red lager. So
Oh, I love reds. Is it a
yeah,
good one?
it is.
Okay.
And there's like a little like curling uh thing on here. So it must be something with, some brooms and I didn't read the thing on the back. I probably should have ahead of time,
Does it have
but
anything to do with curling?
it looks like it does. Yeah, because
Oh, really?
there's
Okay.
other curling imagery on here I hadn't when I bought it. Um,
I I actually went and did curling once as part of a bachelorette party, which I mean sounds like kind of an odd, unusual activity
it
for a
does. Yeah.
bachelorette party,
Mhm.
but that's kind of why I liked it. I
Yeah.
mean, so many of those kinds of parties can be the same thing. So this was
Yep.
kind of cool to do something new. Curling is very hard.
Sure.
It's
Okay.
it's nuts. Like, you have to I've been both like the pusher of the stone and then
Hmm.
like the people who sweep before it. And I
Hmm.
mean, it's like a science of timing. It's an art.
Sure.
It's crazy like how much you have to think about in each position. Um, I was also I'm a terrible ice skater. And a naturally klutzy person. So of course I was the only one that injured myself playing
I,
curling, which is
you're not
like
that
it's not
klutzy.
even like a I kind of am. I tend to trip over my own feet sometimes or
Hmm.
run into
Okay.
doorways.
Okay.
I'm real good at that. I have not great spatial awareness. So like I have lots of bruises on my knees and shoulders because I just like whap into doorways all the time.
Huh.
Um
Okay.
but yeah, I mean curling is obviously like the least intensive, like least contact sport you can think
Sure.
of on ice, I think. And I was pushing the broom and I was pushing it a little bit too vigorously. And so the broom just like flew out of my hands and I fell on the ice and cut my knee open and
Oh my
yeah.
gosh.
It was
Wow.
ridiculous. Like it looked so impressive. It was like bleeding everywhere and it looked like this impressive war wound and I was like, yeah, I did this curling.
Yeah.
Like so proud
Yeah.
of myself right
Can't
now.
be ashamed. Yeah. Well, here, this is what it says about it.
Okay.
Curlers know it's more than just a game.
Mm,
Under an old tradition, they stack their brooms, pause the action, and go have a beer with their opponents
that
because
is
there's
very true.
nothing like having a good beer while you're having a good time.
That is very true. That was one of the first things we learned actually about curling etiquette is between every match, like the teams go and whoever wins like buys the other team a beer.
Nice.
So
So
it's very
by the
cool. It's very
end,
like congenial. Yeah. Oh yeah, you're super drunk,
yeah,
which
and then
was very in keeping with like a bachelorette party because
yeah,
we were all
yeah.
very drunk by the end.
Huh,
Um, but yeah, it's just about like sportsmanship and congeniality and
right?
win or lose. Like you're a good sport, you share a drink, and that's what really matters at the end of the day.
Cool.
So yeah, I would highly recommend like going to try it out. It's fun. Like I said, it's definitely an art form and it can be like frustrating to get the timing down correctly, but it's fun. It's new, it's different.
Way to tell people to go have fun right now, Andrea,
I know.
outside at
Damn it.
venting, like,
Oh, I didn't even think
places.
about that. All right, well, when people can get back together and do things. I mean, you do kind of stand very far apart,
There you go.
when you like throw
Yep,
the stone and with the broom and everything. So,
yep,
could try anyway.
yep. That cold, I hear it slows down the virus, so it's not gonna get to you,
There you
right?
go.
That's yeah,
Everybody takes shelter in the hockey ice rinks and
yeah.
all that. So
Mhm. So you recently got a, new iPhone,
I
and you
did my
just said
iPhone
you
11 Pro.
yeah, fancy.
So I love it. Yeah, it's very fun. I should do what Lady Gaga advertises and try to shoot like a music video or
There you go.
something.
Yep,
There's a
do it.
project for you staying inside in coronavirus,
Yep.
shooting a music video.
All by yourself, yeah.
Yep.
I mean, you can, yeah,
I'll just make Chris take all the video.
okay, yep.
Or
Mhm.
or I'll take a video of Chris and make it into a music video without his
Actually,
knowing.
you absolutely could because, lots of music videos are like a couple or whatever, and
Right?
stuff, so, yeah, this
Oh,
could
this
work.
could bring us closer together.
Yep.
Adorable.
Well, with that,
Yes.
you got a free, year of Apple TV Plus?
Yes, yes. I wasn't sure that I was going to get it right away, and then I got an email just the other week. I'm sure, like everything, everybody's kind of behind with what's happening with coronavirus. So I got it a couple weeks after I'd purchased my phone,
Sure.
um, saying that I got a free year of Apple TV. So I signed right up.
You did
And I
right.
already have several shows on the platform that I'm interested in watching. It's
Nice.
okay. So since we're talking about like organization of a platform, I have to say that Apple TV is not the best.
Okay.
Um, it is like you can search it, but I don't think very intuitive for a user. And it's also not clear since they seem to host like other things on the platform, like channels that you have to pay for, like stars.
Mhm.
They don't always make that very clear when they're like putting out a show that you can potentially watch. So you sort of like get in several layers deep and be like,
Yep.
okay, maybe I want to commit to the show, and then all of a sudden it's like, just kidding, it's stars, you have to pay
Yep.
for it. So
Amazon
I
has this
I was
problem as
not
well.
pleased. Yes, yes, I was
Yeah.
not pleased about that.
It's a tough thing because they're both trying to make it easier that you
Hmm.
want to what you care the idea is what you care about is content, and
Right,
so in that case, you look for the content and you have that, and then you can select it, and what app it goes to is irrelevant. But it is relevant if you don't have it.
right,
So
exactly.
and it's a tough thing. I don't know what's better. I mean, I don't mind generally going to the Stars app or
Hmm.
the HBO app or
Right,
whatever, but you're not going to get a lot of discoverability that way necessarily because you'll go to the Stars app if you know there's a Stars show that you want to
right,
watch.
right.
So this is giving you like here's a whole bunch of stuff that you can
Yeah.
but yeah, no, I understand what you're saying. I
It's
don't know
just,
what
yeah.
how to solve it.
I mean, I get it in the sense of like for these platforms, like, discoverability, it's key, like, and getting it out there, like getting
Mhm.
your content out there, especially for channels like HBO or Stars who don't always necessarily reach the same audience or don't always have the same like advertising bandwidth.
Yep.
I get that. But I just like I hate getting invested in something and then like getting several layers in and finally deciding, okay, I do want to watch this show. It seems worth my time. And then all of a sudden I don't have access to it and I have to
Yep.
pay for it. It's like I am now actually less likely to go watch that show because I feel like tricked into
Yep.
like, "Ooh, did you want it? Just kidding. Like
Yep.
you have to pay for it." I'd rather know that up front because I don't have a problem paying for it. I've rented, movies from Amazon Prime or Stars or whatever before, and that's, not a big deal.
Yep.
Um, but I don't like that sort of like it's free, but suddenly it's not. So,
Yep. I am very hyper aware now on Amazon when I'm looking at does it say included with Prime?
yes.
Like
Yep.
I'm extra aware of that now because I have done that so many times. Like, oh,
Yes.
okay, this one isn't. I gotta rent this one. And then it's like,
Right.
how do I get this one? Oh, go to my website, go to
Yeah.
Amazon.com on another device and get it.
Yep.
And
That is annoying.
they should do something real bold up front because I've never had a problem with it generally because again, I'm going there for a specific thing usually
Right.
and I'm not spending any time in it, but they want you to spend time in it. They
Right.
want you to find your stuff that way. So it should be very upfront. Like you hit the TV button and it's just takes you automatically to things it knows you're subscribed to.
Yes.
Things it knows
I
you're
agree.
subscribed to, that's it. And if you go all the way to the top, you can tab over to more content of the
Yes.
other, purchasable content. I don't know what they want,
Yes.
but
Yeah, whatever they wanna call it, just
so you can
yeah,
live in
that's
two worlds there, you
yes.
know. So
Yeah, I
yeah,
absolutely agree. But that being said, like, obviously, I'm still gonna go explore what's available on Apple TV.
sure.
I know that a couple episodes ago, you'd been talking about a show, um, Home After Dark?
Yep.
Home Before
Mhm.
Dark?
Home
Crap.
Before Dark. Yep.
Okay. I'm so close. Okay, so Home Before Dark, so that's on my radar. I do wanna watch, The Morning Show with
Okay.
Reese Witherspoon, Jen
Aniston.
Aniston,
Yep.
and Steve Carell. I love Steve
Mhm.
Carell. I think he's matured into a fantastic actor. And then there was one other one that I was looking at, which is Mythic Quest.
Yes.
So yeah.
That's the
I
star.
read like 3 words into it and I was like, yep, I'm here for this. Like all
I've
over it. So
I've been largely disinterested in most of it. Just
really? Okay.
a lot of it because there's been sort of um I don't know. I guess there were high expectations, big
Hmm.
names, and nothing has really come out as like must see.
Oh, okay.
So when there's so much else that is must see, kind of that
Yeah.
it gets because we started Servant and really
Okay.
enjoyed that to begin with,
Okay.
but I've heard that the ending is like a meh and kind of
So so.
um, see. I've heard just like sounds like people it was again pretty good for it. Like I've heard no one's like trashed this stuff.
Hmm.
I've just heard that it's not
Ends up
must
kind of
see.
being mediocre.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The one exception to that we stuck with was Mythic Quest.
Okay.
I thought that was great.
Okay.
So
Nice.
much fun with that.
I'm very
Um,
excited for that.
and then I'm excited though. I've never gotten into Bob's Burgers. Um,
Oh yeah.
Central Park. It's a animated by Bob's Burgers people thing.
Okay.
I'll try it when that hits.
Sure.
So
Yeah, I've never quite gotten into Bob's Burgers either. I think my like sort of mainstream cartoons as an adult have centered around like Simpsons and Family Guy, and
sure.
that's pretty much it.
But there's other stuff now, like The Banker. I'm interested.
Yeah.
You
Yeah, I
know,
remember us talking about that a little bit ago.
yeah,
And I am definitely interested after to sort of bring it to our show topic, after seeing Anthony Mackie finish out Altered Carbon.
yep.
So I'm interested. Oh, Alan says Bob's Burgers is good.
I know everyone says that. I
I'll try
know.
it. I'll try it.
Everyone says, yeah, there's a lot of things. I
I've
don't
caught
know.
like random pieces of it, so that's not exactly the best way to like sit down and give it a chance. I know.
I guess I
So,
shouldn't say everyone says that. Alan and Tara say that. Alan and Tara say Bob's Burgers is really good.
all right.
So
Well, maybe we'll both have to commit to watching at least one
yeah.
or two, and seeing what we see.
Well, it's not a big time commitment to watch one or two, I guess. Yeah.
That's right.
Um, There's
Oh, I've heard that. Sorry, Alan just said Big Mouth is good too. I've heard that from
I
a
don't know
lot of people.
what that is.
It's another cartoon. I don't know if it's by the same people or not, potentially.
Big.
Um, Maggie actually recommended that to me, our friend Maggie.
Hmm.
So, no, oh, it's Nick Kroll. Okay.
Interesting. Okay. Huh.
Yeah, I've heard really good things about Big Mouth actually. So yeah, so maybe I'll try to give that a try as well.
Okay. And Amazing Stories, I think, just came out. Um, that's like their redoing of that old thing.
Right.
Don't know if that's any good or not, but so there's stuff out there, lots I haven't
Yeah.
tried for sure,
Yeah.
but
It's hard because I mean, you only have so much time and you really do have to sort of like value like
yeah.
okay, what am I going to watch and what do I have time for and yeah,
Hmm.
you do
Yeah,
have to like commit to only things you're really interested in.
it's tough in this space. So,
Yes.
do you think the service like Quibi now is going to be a
Mhm.
thing?
I don't know. I kind of I mean, I don't feel like it's going to move into a streaming space. I feel like it's more of a threat to YouTube. You know what I
Okay.
mean? Like
Hmm.
I feel like so many people watch quick like little videos on YouTube.
Hmm.
Um, like I don't know if you have like a short bus ride or something like that. Like I see so many people on the train on the light rail like, heads in their phones watching videos and whatever. So it feels like designed for that sort of thing. But I don't know that it's going to be like a competition for streaming space. I feel like I've seen so many advertisements for Quibi and then have not actually talked to a person who's watched anything on there.
Well, I think it's not quite out yet, unless someone had early access.
Sure.
So
Okay.
I think it's still pre-order.
Okay.
Um,
I
but
don't. I guess maybe then I haven't talked to anybody who's like, yeah, I'm gonna get
yeah,
it.
it's hard because like I don't know what. To me, I think of this as something for our younger age group
Yeah.
initially, but then you look at some of the lineup. I'm like, well, okay. I mean, these are people that I don't know are all ages, I guess. The
Yeah.
talent that's involved, but it's tough because I know people are working on this shooting in a format where it can be viewed portrait or landscape, either way,
Sure.
and we consume so much. The phone is so important for so many people. There's
Hmm.
so many people that is literally the only computing device they need,
Very true.
and on a very small scale, do they need anything else? And so, you know, we're from the tail end of a generation that still watches television.
True.
We have a TV and we turn it on and have television or cable. Like that's not a thing anymore. Young people don't do that.
True. Yeah. I mean, I think about like my nephews and stuff, and they just like hook up to an iPad, and
Right.
that's or a phone
Yep.
or some other like smaller device,
Right.
and that's their like TV.
Yep.
Um, So yeah, I mean, I get that, and I feel like Quibi would be geared towards those kinds of audiences. But I don't know. I'm not so far like the things I've seen advertised. I'm not like super interested in.
Yeah. I'm interested because they have such big names. So I want to,
They
and they're
they
only like
do.
10 seconds. It's basically it's TikTok, but high budget.
Yeah,
Have you used TikTok at all?
I have. I mean, I've not made my own, but I've been on TikTok. So
Okay. Um, is it a worthwhile platform?
it's fun. Like but it's I don't know. I like it a little bit better than I like Snapchat. Because I like the idea of like these short little clips and things like on TikTok.
Hmm.
Um, and I usually don't usually like Snapchat because I feel like they're super pointed or they're just like really random. And I'm like, why am I getting the notification for this? Like, I just want to like go scroll and like
Yep.
browse this on my own time. So
Yep.
TikTok is kind of fun and it's got some cute little stuff on it, but it can definitely get annoying very quickly, like any
Okay.
social media.
Yep. I took Twitter off my phone again. I keep going back and forth, because it's just such a time it can be such a time drain, and it's easy to get frustrated by things on there,
Yeah,
and I'd
sure.
rather it be a positive thing and a thing that we share when our stuff is upcoming, whatever.
Right.
And so to
I was gonna
do
say I'm
that,
never gonna have that be off my phone probably. Between running social media for us and then running social media for work, like,
yeah.
yeah.
Oh yeah, if you do it for work, for sure.
Yeah, it's not
Yep.
going anywhere.
So I just keep it on my iPad then.
Yeah,
So then, it's just can be, um, I don't know. It's just better because um, Facebook was that way too. Such an endless time drain. And so, I mean, I'm sure they'll like this, but if Quibi becomes that thing where it can become a time drain, and am I getting anything out of it? You
right,
know,
right.
I don't know.
Yeah, it's does seem like something that you could just, like, easily use to waste time.
Yep.
And it's I mean, I know it's like I said, it's a lot of it seems designed for, like, you can watch this, like, really quickly while you're doing something like, you know, riding the bus or, waiting for somebody trying on clothes while you're shopping or something. You know what I mean? It's just these quick little bites of entertainment when you're bored.
Yep.
But, like, why can't other entertainment be that? Like, I'm usually fine watching like 5 minutes of a TV show at a time and like knowing, yeah, I have to come back to it later and it sucks,
Yep.
but whatever, it's fine.
Yep.
Or I just don't need to actually do that at all. Like I can just sit
Right.
there and it's fine. I'll live without,
Yeah.
entertainment for 5 minutes.
A lot of people have trouble with that these days,
They
like
do.
have trouble like being with their thoughts for even a moment. And then it's like,
Right.
"Oh, I gotta poke at something.
Right. And I think
Like,
this is just like adding to that.
hmm
So I don't know. I'm not like a huge fan clearly right now, but we'll
yeah.
see when it comes out if I find something good.
Yeah, it just brings up it just makes me think of the future of media and entertainment. So like
Sure.
right now, we know where our theaters are shut down stuff.
Right.
So you can't go out, and they're losing money there, and like talk about, movies being put to streaming instead or released digitally first. And like um that stuff is dying. Traditional TV is dying,
Hmm.
long, you know, podcasts to me the one thing that is vibrant,
Hmm.
that's still long form,
Hmm.
you know?
But engaging, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I'm always interested. What's it going to look like in 10 years,
Right.
TV sales are going to go the way down. Theaters are going to be like not every town has one kind of thing,
Yeah,
limited
absolutely.
goings or whatever, that kind of thing.
Right.
And
Yeah, I mean, they'll still exist, they'll just exist lesser, you
mhm,
know?
yep. The Oscars, it'll be the first vertical format movie
Right,
nominated for Best Picture,
right,
you know,
yeah. When do those
and
categories start expanding? Yeah.
yeah, I don't know. Or does that survive? Do people still care at that point?
I think 10
So
years for sure. I don't
sure.
know. I
I mean,
mean,
a lot of this stuff is it's gradual. It's all gradual.
yeah,
Like people have been talking about the death of newspapers for a long time, which is true. They're dying, but they're still around.
right.
You can still get a
Well, and
newspaper.
they've shifted to online,
Yep.
they're doing their own
Yeah.
shifts and responding, excuse me, to, the nature of how people consume media now.
Yep.
So, I mean, stuff is adaptable and
Yep.
it still exists even though it's not like what we think of it in the traditional sense. Like usually when you think newspaper, you do, I think for maybe our generation and up, you think of like a tangible physical paper.
Yep. Well, and that's kind of my point. Like it all changes. Like the rules I learned in school about cinematography,
Sure.
are they going to still apply?
Sure.
I always got frustrated with people. They take their phone and hold it up, and they have it tall. They have it vertical wise, and they're shooting a video or something like that.
Yeah.
I'm like, turn your phone to the side, 90 degrees, either way. But does that matter anymore? Like, because
Yeah.
most people are not putting that on the television to look at it. They're
Very
going to
true.
share it with someone else, and they're going to see it on their phone, and that's it. And probably if you shoot it horizontally and you send it to your friend, they're going to look at it on their phone and still not turn the thing so it fits proper. We're
For
just gonna
sure.
watch it small.
For
This
sure.
is the nature of people, and this is the way we're going. And so I don't know. It's for film and entertainment and where we're going.
Mhm.
It's definitely something that it makes me feel like a dinosaur. Uh,
Sure.
how it's going to change, I think. So
Well, we're only in our 30s, John. We got a lot of time to feel like a
yeah,
dinosaur yet.
I know, but I mean, you hang out with some kids or
You're
whatever
you're having
a
an
high school or
existential
whatever for
crisis
stuff.
very early.
Yeah,
But yeah, no,
yeah.
I get it. I mean,
I mean,
like you said,
children
you're
think you're ancient,
yeah,
you know.
absolutely.
So
Yeah.
it's
I
all
mean, I
perspective,
only get it secondhand, you know,
right?
like
Yeah,
visiting Chris's class and stuff
yeah.
like that. Like, yeah,
Hmm.
I'm old.
Yep. And so
Um,
I'm trying to do my best to understand their mindset and how they do things. Like when I found
sure.
out that kids write book reports on their phone, I'm like, "What are you talking about? I
Yeah, but you
are
can
you?"
always tell though, it's so terrible. Like,
Because they
I've
can't
seen some of
format for
those.
anything.
Yeah, it's terrible.
Okay.
Like, please, for the love of God, people do not write book reports or any reports on your phone. It looks so bad, and we can tell. Like, I've seen them,
Mhm.
you know. Like, obviously, like, Chris doesn't like go around and be like, look at what my student did, but like
Right.
I've seen some examples of, like when he's brought papers home to grade and it's just like, oh my God, that looks terrible.
Yeah.
And I think it does matter in like the business world how you present things.
Right.
So even
But
if you
then
think it doesn't matter now, right in high school, it will.
but
Trust me.
before you know it, someone that's, 5 years, 10 years younger than you will be running places, hiring people, whatever, you know? And
Yeah,
then will they care? Will
I
the
think they
proper
will.
block formatting on a resume or something, will that
Yeah,
matter?
I mean, I think it'll switch, but think there's still something like basic to humans about like looking at something that's aesthetically pleasing and organizationally pleasing. Like, you do need signposts for your brain to like comprehend something more easily or to just be like, oh, okay, like this section is ending, I'm moving into something new. Like,
Yep.
yeah, I mean, you don't maybe have to follow like a prescriptive stylized guide, but you still want something that you can make sense of.
Yep.
And, typing a report on a phone, that is so tough.
I think just getting your head around it mentally, like you're only staring at this much space,
Right?
you just can't. There's something about not being able to see what you're doing,
Yes.
and have a
Yes.
context for
Yes.
how far you are. And like it just, I feels very claustrophobic if I
Yes.
had to do that.
Yes. I'm
So,
definitely somebody who is, even though I should just keep writing, I'm constantly revising like as I write. So like
mm,
I constantly go back and like when I say something new, I'm like, oh, now I should really change that because this like flows better. So
mhm.
I could not imagine like trying to like scroll up on a phone and like throw my cursor up and be like, okay, where
Yeah,
was that,
right.
part? Yeah. So
Now I write and then never revise and just that's it. Seems to be the way things go. But I don't have a job with that, so it's different, I guess.
yeah. Yeah. For me, that's all my job is. I mean, well, it's central anyway. So
So speaking of another thing that I have no idea if the kids are into or not,
sure.
Rick and Morty
Oh,
season 3,
yeah.
part 2, coming
That's
May
right.
3rd.
That's right. Okay,
Um,
so I have never watched Rick and Morty. The only thing I know is like McDonald's had that whole like Szechuan sauce debacle with Rick and Morty. That is my context for Rick and Morty.
okay. Well, I hadn't watched much either.
Okay,
And I don't know why, because I watched the first episode and I thought it was really funny. I think we just didn't have it for a while, whatever station was on, that kind of thing, channel.
sure.
And but then this last season was airing and we decided to just start watching it and it was great. It is hilarious.
Okay,
And I've seen a number of other episodes since or whatever, but
sure.
so there was a big break though between this, like, beginning of season 4 and season 3. So after this season, hopefully there's not as big a break
Okay,
after the rest of the season.
sure.
But
Yeah,
yeah.
I feel like that's I mean, to step away from Rick and Morty, like, very tangentially, um, I feel like that's a thing for TV shows. It's like you get this, like, release, and then all of a sudden there's this huge break now. You know, how
Hmm.
TV shows, I feel like, traditionally used to be like, "Here's our new season in the fall, here's what we're running through the fall, and now we're taking the summer to shoot, and we're gonna be right back." You know, it's very cyclical, and now with, like, streaming platforms, it's like, well, who knows? Like a year, 2 years, like, we can take
Yep.
as much time as we want because there's no set schedule of like releasing something.
Right.
So,
Yep. And their show's popular enough they can do what they want,
yeah, yeah.
and what.
They bank on that audience coming right back.
Yep. And I will come right back for it. It's I
So on
I
Netflix, you would give it a thumbs up
yeah.
in our very limited rating system.
Hmm. Well, as you said, like your experience with like American cartoons or whatever as an
Hmm.
adult has kind of been
Yeah.
Family Guy and Simpsons, and for me it was Family Guy mostly or whatever, and
Yeah.
I still see reruns of that occasionally, which is funny, but this is definitely taken the feels like a fresh modern kind of thing,
Okay.
and I love Rick is really good. He could
Okay.
defeat the entire Avengers team himself for sure.
A bold claim, John.
Yeah, he could. It's kind of the charm of this character is being um like a bumbling drunk, but completely ahead of you in every possible way.
Sure.
He's always a step ahead.
Okay.
But
Well,
yeah,
maybe that's another I'll have to add to my long growing list of
yeah,
cartoons
right.
to check out,
Yeah,
expand my horizons.
yep. Well, that's kind of about it for news, isn't it? That's like I say, it was kind of a slow. We talked about a few other things on our midweek episode, I guess.
Mhm.
So it cuts down on some of it. But next, we'll talk about Altered Carbon. First, we're going to take like
Right.
a quick 5-minute break, not even, and be right back.
All right.
And we're back.
Ah.
Can you notice what's different? To change something in the background? Uh,
Change your hair, change your
Yeah,
shirt.
right. Yeah, I come back bald. Boom.
It would
Shock.
have been hilarious if you'd shaved your beard.
Yeah,
We were
right.
saying on Wednesday how you like shaved your beard. You should have just like quick done that and been like,
Done it
"Oh,
then.
hey
Yeah.
guys, sorry."
That would have been a patchy job, I tell you. That would have been rough.
Need a little more than like 2 minutes to accomplish that.
Hmm. So yeah, spoilers. We're getting
Yes.
into spoiler territory here for Altered Carbon
Yes, yes,
season 1 and season 2.
we've talked about it before, but now we're both done with season 2, and
Hmm.
I also watched, the Netflix film, Altered Carbon Resleeved, which we both discovered was a film. Initially, I had thought it was like a season,
Yeah,
because I
yeah,
remember on a previous podcast complaining about the fact that they were taking time to do this, like, animated season, and I was like, "Well, why the hell wouldn't you just
right.
continue on with more live action seasons?" But this makes a whole lot more sense now that it's like this kind of short short movie or extended episode. I don't know what you wanna call it, because it's only an hour and 15 minutes.
Okay,
So,
okay,
very quick.
cool. Well, so what'd you think? I mean, we got some of your thoughts before on
Yes.
season 1, but like
Yes.
recap on your thoughts there, or what do you
Sure.
how does it compare?
Yeah, so, overall, I think I still like season 1 better. I was more invested, I think, in Joel Kinnaman's portrayal of Takeshi Kovacs.
Mhm.
Not that I don't like Anthony Mackie, and like I said earlier, like I think he did a really fantastic job and he closed it out strong. I just felt I don't know, his portrayal of Takeshi felt a little diluted. Like it wasn't as clear to me watching Anthony Mackie that that's who I was watching. And I
Sure.
think that maybe had to do a little bit with the fact that they brought back Takeshi's original sleeve. Um, So it sort of like took away something from the essence of like Anthony Mackie was Takeshi, when you could
Mm,
just like be like, but look at like original Takeshi right here. You
sure.
know, he almost
Yeah.
seems to be more, even though he's the one who's, I think, had less experience and obviously different experiences than
Yes.
Takeshi.
Mhm.
So, um, so yeah, so it was a wonderful, um, I think, portrayal by Anthony Mackie, but it wasn't always clear to me that like he was Takeshi.
So on that then, what do you
Yeah.
think of so being we had 2 versions of Takeshi Kovacs in the same
Hmm.
space. What do you think of that? I mean, firstly, like from just the way the show is and like how
Sure.
it works in there. But
Sure.
then also from what does that mean then, if you can so then the show they've made it so you can digitize yourself basically
Right. Right.
in a stack, you're in a chip.
Right.
But you're now as simple as like a computer program, I guess, because they're copying those things back and forth all the time.
Yeah.
And so that means you can just basically have a backup of yourself
Yeah.
and boom, there you
If you can
go.
afford it,
Yeah,
or somebody
right.
else can afford it.
Yep.
since
Is
since he clearly was copied against his will or without his
right.
knowledge, I guess.
Yep.
Whatever way you want to look
Government
at it.
did it, the
Yeah.
protectorate, because they yeah. I mean,
I
it's tough that to have that in your story, but
yeah.
do you like that mechanic that they can do that and everything?
So I do and I don't. Very specifically. I liked it in this season because I thought it was very in character for Jaeger to do this. Like Takeshi was supposed to be like his greatest soldier at SeaTac, and he was so proud of him. And they had this weird like father son dynamic. And then for Takeshi to go off and like join the rebellion and kill Chris Falconer would have been such a crushing blow to Jaeger that he would want to like fix it,
Sure.
and he has the technology to do it. So this
Yeah.
totally seemed logical to me that he would do something like this. I didn't see it coming until it happened, and
Okay.
then once it happened, I was like, totally, yes,
Mhm.
yes, I see this. So I liked it because I thought it told a very compelling story for both Takeshi and for Jaeger,
Mhm.
and I really liked that part of the season. I don't like it in the sense of, you know, it does seem now like the self can just be like fragmented at any point, and you can just be like backed up, and you can have multiple copies of yourself, and you could always exist, and it just
Yes.
seems like, wow, this is a lot. Whereas like season one, it made it seem like a little tougher, at least to
Yes.
do. So now it's feeling a little like loose and free,
Mhm.
um, and attainable for almost anybody.
Right.
So yeah, so that's tough. And especially with
Mhm.
big, huge spoiler now for the way that the season ended, where it's revealed that Poe comes back from decompression and he's carrying what we can assume, I think, is Takeshi's stack
Mhm.
inside him as a code, and just like puts it
Yep.
right back together. And it's like, okay, I guess, Takeshi didn't die from
Yeah.
angel fire like, we all thought. And, there was supposed to be consequences, and now it just
Right.
seems that there aren't. And I especially found that intriguing in the sense of like Takeshi, whether knowingly or unknowingly, is now, sort of like his very existence now is the opposite of what Kel is fighting for. She's fighting for like human life having meaning
Yep.
because we have death. And Takeshi, like, we thought he had that, but now he's coming back,
Mhm.
and it seems like there were no consequences for this big sacrifice that he made. And so now he's sort of doing the opposite of what Kel wants.
And it's odd because, I mean, the idea seems to be that, Cal is a, hero, I guess, but she's also kind of a terrorist.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so who do we, how do we feel about that? Because like you say, if they're supposed to be if we're supposed to empathize with her and be in favor of her mission,
Mhm.
then why would they be trying to make us happy and excited that
Right.
people keep being able to come back?
Right.
Shouldn't we feel satisfied in the proper final end of
Yeah.
something, and things being restored or whatever that
Yeah.
way?
And I actually was satisfied. So I was very satisfied with the way that Takeshi was going to die.
Hmm.
I felt it was in character for him this season, especially. I guess in season one, I mean, we know that he loved Cal Chris Falconer, but you don't get that like very real present sense of it
Yep.
because she's not there. So this season's Takeshi, this felt like a natural thing for him to do. And I was really excited about the fact that like his real death would mean that we could maybe have next season be exploring Takeshi Kovacs in his original sleeve,
Yep.
the one that Jaeger created.
Yep.
Um, but who's now clearly like his own kind of person.
Yep.
Um, so I was really excited about that. And now I'm like, oh, well, now I
Yeah.
really don't know what we're gonna do. I
Yeah.
imagine, both Takeshis will be in the season at some point in some
Yeah.
capacity. But yeah, I was really kind of excited about this other possibility.
I agree. I agree. It kind of took the wind out of the sails because it
Yeah.
was a pretty emotional, well
Yeah.
done thing. I think like you say, it did make sense. He talked about how, well, I don't have anything left now.
Right.
Like he's clearly lived for hundreds and hundreds of years
Right.
in multiple bodies. He's been through a lot, plenty of torture, all different kinds of things or whatever, had people
Mhm.
he's cared about, died around, all like traumatic stuff. And so for him to get that end, um, yeah, I liked it. I didn't like that Cal Chris Falconer was just off to do this again.
Yeah.
Like she didn't learn anything either,
Yeah,
you
yeah, that
know?
that felt like, very unsatisfying. Like you said,
Hmm.
she didn't learn anything. I mean, she obviously, like, learned that, she doesn't need to die for a mission to be a success or, like, for her sort of
Did she
mission
learn
of.
that? Oh, well, I guess
Well, she
technically for it
did,
to be a
yeah, she
success.
says,
Yeah.
like, I will survive or whatever when she has that vision of,
Yep.
Anthony Mackie's Takeshi,
Yep.
at the end there. I mean, obviously, it's the end of the season, so we don't really know how much that's going to impact her, but, like, on the surface, she learned something, but yeah, it didn't feel very deep.
Yep.
Um,
No. I
and I
mean,
think it took away from any depth of that moment, us knowing, like, Takeshi's gonna come back.
what should to me, I struggle with the idea of needing to be a resistance or terrorist organization because you don't think humans should be able to live forever.
Sure.
I mean, it's like you might disagree with that, but ultimately, look, I get you feel bad that you created this and you're not happy with it, but now it's society's choice,
Mhm.
you know, like
Yeah, yeah, I get where you're coming from. It
it's
does
not
feel
on
like.
her anymore.
Right. I mean, yeah. It's tough because I get where she specifically is coming from as the creator of this technology and
Hmm.
her sort of feeling like this is mine and this is my creation and this isn't how I intended its use to be. And so I can understand her feeling um frustrated or upset or angry or, wanting some of that control back.
Hmm.
Um do I think she should just get it back? No, because like you said, it's now out in society and it's
Yep.
society's choice of what to do with it. But I understand, I think, the core of where she's coming from. I don't know that like necessarily like her leading the resistance is the right path.
Yeah. I mean, went the better um use of your time go to like opening up school and that kind of thing, and
Sure.
like you kind of preach and talk about what you feel the meaning of life and human
Sure.
life and existence is, and why it's important that we do have an end, we do have a
Right.
finality, and
Right.
it could go on and on. So you would teach that and live that then,
Right.
which would be very difficult for people, mind you, to be like, okay, well, you're right, I could go in a new young body or something, but I guess I'm just gonna expire, you know? So
Sure.
I
Yeah, I mean,
just
there's clearly some people who do still believe in that. Like,
yep,
it was more season 1 focused with, like, the religious aspect of people who are like, "When
yep,
I die, and I don't wanna be spun back up," and things
yep,
like that. So, I think that was tough to not have any of that this season,
yep.
because it provides that, like, needed counterbalance. Um, but, yeah, I feel like Kel is sort of going about this, like, fixing the problem the wrong way.
Yep.
Like, either, like you said, opening up a school or, a if you wanna call it a church of thought or
Yep.
whatever, would be one way. Or, I mean, she's the inventor of this technology. Can she, invent something that, like, latches onto stacks that says, like, "Okay, you have, like, 200 years." There's some new piece of technology that she can attach to, like, every living stack that limits, because
But
right now stacks are unlimited,
people would have
theoretically,
to
as far as we
adopt that
know.
technology, you
Well,
know?
she could figure something out. I mean, I personally can't think of something or like a way to do this, but I'm sure like clever writers could figure out a way that she could somehow write a program connected to every stack that's,
And that'd still
existing
be
right
like a
now.
terrorist attack.
It would, but I'm
That'd be
just saying
the
like
ending.
it'd be
Yeah.
because right now she's so focused on like physically fighting
Yeah.
the the protectorate, and it just seems like, how is this doing anything? Like, I'm
You
just not
know,
sure what exactly the point of the physical attack
mhm.
is. Because
Maybe
wasn't
I
that like
just
her initial aim in season 1? She was gonna write a program that was gonna
I
be
don't
like,
remember.
I
I
feel like
I
that was part of it. Like, that was maybe just an idea thrown around, or like she
okay.
had thought about or something. But yeah, seems like she should maybe get back to focusing on that.
Yeah, I mean, you need to, have your group and convince people this is the way that we should be, but otherwise, what is it to you that everybody else does?
Mhm.
Like, are you at and maybe this was answered and I don't remember, are you at birth copied to a stack and like one thrown in your neck,
I
you
think
know?
so.
Because that's too bad. You could fight to change that.
Right?
But even
Yeah.
so, if you do, you still have the choice to just die then, you
Mhm.
know? Now, maybe there's something that says it's illegal to do
Mhm.
that, kind of like now, like you can't take your own life or whatever and you get in
Right.
trouble kind of thing. But it's um again, that's a fight in like legislation, you know.
Mhm.
And maybe
Not
again,
quite as
maybe this is a
exciting
yeah,
as,
maybe
like,
this is a
leading a
world
rebellion.
yeah, and maybe this is a world where that's no longer an option,
Sure.
clearly. And what do you think, that was definitely a different focus of this story was the kind of political landscape
Yeah.
what's the name of the world?
Harlan's World.
Harlan's World, yeah. Um, and, talking about Danica Harlan then and stuff, like, how do you think that was that entertaining and stuff?
I didn't really think so.
No? Okay.
There were moments for sure,
Mhm.
but I felt like Danica was she was clearly a villain,
Yep.
and
Lots of villains.
there were several, like, very obvious things that she was doing, like, that are, like, hallmarks of villainry, but I don't know, it just felt
Tackles.
unearned. Yeah, she was always plotting and, she
Yeah.
always had these, like, big ideas and, holding, like, her glass of whiskey and being like, "Ooh, surprise, like, I'm gonna do this thing." But, like, none of that ever seemed to really work out for her, so I felt like she had a lot of unearned, um, like, sense of accomplishment or sense of, this thing is gonna work out, or I have this really great idea and, like, I'm gonna execute it. Because I just felt like so much of the time, like, her ideas, like, when they went wrong, she was always so surprised, like, "Oh my god, this wasn't a great idea," and you're like,
Yeah.
what made you think this was gonna be a good idea?" So, like, throwing Takeshi in the pit, for example, and, like, having him fight his way out, and
Yep.
Jaeger was just like, "You should just kill this guy," and she was
Yep.
like, "No, a spectacle, like, I know everything," and then in the end, Jaeger was just like, "Duh," and I felt like even me as the viewer was just like, "Ah, duh."
Yeah.
Like, so yeah,
Yeah.
so there was a lot of these things where she just, like, had this huge, like, pride in what she was thinking, and then it all just always never worked out.
Yep.
Even at the end, where she, like, goes into the tower and she's gonna, like, confront the elder with,
Mhm.
Takeshi and Kel, and she's like, "Yeah, I'll totally go up alone." And then her like big idea was to shoot them. I'm
Yeah.
like, "You, a politician who's like never done this sort of thing before, are going to kill Kel Chris Falconer and the last envoy Takeshi, who are
Mhm.
like legends, and everybody's like, you know, they're unkillable. It's so crazy. Like they always get out of these crazy situations." And
Mhm.
she's just like, "Yep, me and my handgun." Like,
Yeah.
yeah,
I don't know. Yeah. I mean, I guess it kind of some of the stuff at the end I enjoyed. Like I didn't see that she was running the resistance and stuff to
no,
kind of create
no,
that. So I enjoyed that. I don't know if she had like earned the competency that would have
yeah, thank you.
required to pull off, you know?
That's the word I was kind of looking for. She seemed incompetent in some key ways.
But I was wondering if that was kind of the point. She
Sure.
said like, "My dad always underestimated women. I won't do that." Like she kind of had her like I'd be interested in going back through what, were there any of them that were fake, blunders?
Sure.
And because otherwise, obviously, she set up the way to take control with martial law too. So
Yeah.
you had these things, these plots, like you say, but then you
Yeah.
had these moments that were really like, really? That's not very wise. So,
Yeah, and even I feel like the plot to set up martial law was well executed. That I mean, that was probably one of the few that I thought was like, all right, like this is well done. But then I felt like it also relied a lot on the stupidity of those around her. Like, I feel
sure.
like if I was ever in a situation where something like a situation was escalating and somebody goes, man, I feel like this is so crazy and it may be too late, but this only possible way we have forward is if I take this crazy amount of power. Like, so
Probably
many
did it.
alarm bells. Like,
Yeah.
that's never a good idea. Like, anybody ever suggesting, like, yeah, it's probably the only way to save us. It's like, I think you would have to stop in that moment and be like, no, I'm guessing it's not, but it's the way that you want to go forward because it clearly benefits you.
Mhm.
So, I don't know. I felt like that moment relied a lot on the stupidity of her counsel because Jaeger
Yeah.
was right there being like, "No, no, no, like, all of this is a big no, like, she's just gonna,
Yep.
like, do this thing," and then she turned around and did exactly what Jaeger said she was gonna do. So, it's like, "Man, y'all really didn't see that coming?"
Yep. Yeah. I mean, but it's fear. It's,
Mhm.
I mean, that was the whole idea is that it's a setup for fear to for power control, and
Yeah,
people do foolish things when they're pretty afraid.
yeah.
So,
Yeah, I just feel like if you're ever like a person who watches like movies and somebody says like, "Oh, there's this external threat and the only way we're going to get through it is like through emergency powers." Like,
yep,
come on. Like in that exact moment I was sitting there
yep,
being like Emperor Palpatine.
yeah,
Like, you know what I mean?
yeah,
Like that was my first thought was like Star Wars.
yep. And
And,
that's how it happens.
yeah.
People agree to it.
Yep.
They
And then
talk in
they're
Star Wars
somehow
too, like
surprised.
democracy dies with thunderous applause.
Yes.
So, yeah. Um,
So yeah, I had a little bit of trouble with her because I felt like her characterization was a little bit inconsistent.
okay.
Um,
Yep.
sometimes like her plans worked out and then sometimes this was just like, wow, this is wildly stupid.
Yep.
So
Yep.
it was a little tough.
I agree. Um, I kind of liked her. I enjoyed her portrayal. Like I thought
Yeah.
um,
The
and
actress did a good job.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Um, so you got Poe and Miss Dig, my
Yeah.
two favorite characters. To be
Absolutely
frank,
mine too.
they were the best.
They are the
And
best.
I love your comment on here. What do you, like? I just, it's yes, they were enjoyable. Poe's
Mhm.
story is emotional.
Yeah.
I was glad that they had they made friends. Poe
Yeah.
needed a friend after
He did.
Takeshi was such a jerk.
He was.
It's
That was
like
actually really
Jesus.
tough for me this season. I was
Yeah,
like, "Man, why are you so mean?" Like,
right.
I mean, I get that he's frustrated with Poe, but it just felt like there was no build up to this level of
Yeah.
frustration.
Yep.
I didn't see like the little moments that led up to him being so frustrated with Poe. So it felt like, oh my God, this is such an overreaction right now.
Yep. Yep. I
So
mean, if it was me, I'd be like, "Man, I'm so sorry you're going through this, Poe. This sure
yeah.
sucks. Um, I'm gonna find another AI to help me because I really need help.
Right.
But you should work on you, and I'm here for you if you need me or something."
Well, and
Like,
it's just like, yeah, why don't I take this other AI in the interim and
yeah.
you fix what's been going on?
Not just if you can't help me and you're not gonna fix what's going on, you're not gonna reboot and forget everything as you
Right.
are, then you're
Right.
dead to me. Leave my site, you
Exactly.
horrible piece of
Yeah.
trash. It's like,
Just so
Jesus.
much. Yeah, it was too much, I felt like.
So,
Which
yeah.
is I mean, probably somewhere, somehow, subconsciously influenced, like, the fact that I liked Joel Kinnaman a little bit better as
Mhm.
Takeshi.
Yep.
Um, but yeah, so I loved Poe's storyline. It was a really interesting flip from season 1 where, he has to help a human character, Elizabeth, sort of, like, get to the core of herself and fix, like, what's the sort of, like, mental glitches that are happening in her head.
Yep.
Um, and then, now, like, he himself is the one who needs help and needs to slow down and, like, get into a safe space, which he eventually does by the end of the season, of course, but yeah, it
Yep.
was a tough journey to see him get there, and it was so tough to, like, watch him sacrifice so much, and he's just,
Yes.
like, trying to help.
Yep.
Which sort of, like, brought me to, what I wrote in our notes about, like, the AI programs almost seem sometimes to be the most human,
Mhm.
and the most, like, emotional and the most caring because they were less concerned about, like, who am I and what makes me me the way that humans are because, like, they have this, like, stack fragmenting technology where you can be, like,
Yep.
backed up and recoded and resleeved, as Takeshi was. But yeah, the AI are more concerned about, like, how can I help?
Yep.
And, what is my purpose and what am I doing here? And how can I help those around me that I now care about? So
I could envision these 2, Westworld and Altered Carbon, existing in the same
yeah.
universe
Yeah.
because Westworld is much
This is definitely
closer.
what made me think of Westworld.
Yeah, Westworld is supposed to be the not too distant future,
Mhm.
and I forget what year they said on it, really as a guesstimate, but
Right.
clearly with the bodies in there, it's a ways off, but it's much closer than Altered Carbon,
Mhm.
and I I like how Westworld has that thing where some spoilers for Westworld, I guess. So try not to say too much, but I guess
Sure.
there's people that they're trying to make copies of it as there as well,
Yeah.
like of
Mhm.
real people,
Yeah.
and it's not going so well. If you remember, the founder
Yes.
um, has great sequences there, but it's not happening, and so
Right.
it's kind of one of
Right.
those talks about, is there a soul? What is the soul? And can we just make a copy of a human? Is that possible? Are they still
Right.
what they are? Well,
Right.
Altered Carbon clearly answer is that we can just make a copy.
Mhm.
It's just digitize a person, and that's what there is. Like,
Right.
which I mean, I'm not saying that Westworld is saying that there's a soul, and that um, that's the way it is. So we can't perfectly copy people. But,
Right.
what version do you like better? Or do you have thoughts? Um
um Yeah, I guess I like Westworld showing the difficulty of it.
Mhm.
That it's not just so easy to just download what makes a human perfectly. Although in this most recent no, it's at the end of season 2, I guess. I'm sorry. They do suggest that it is more possible now that they know humans are simpler than
Sure.
they thought. So
Mhm.
hosts are like, yeah, we can totally create humans. It was just like figuring out the simple coding. But I do like the sort of like struggle that season 2 showed before that.
Mhm.
Um, and I do like that it still feels like there are consequences in Westworld
Right.
world.
Yep.
That it's not that easy to do still. even if you can copy, hosts aren't human bodies, so you're not being put into somebody's, you know,
Yep.
like organic body. So there is that sort of like layer of separation, I think, in
Hmm.
Westworld that you don't quite get in Altered Carbon,
Yep.
where anybody can be anywhere. You can rebuild sleeves, you
Yep.
can grow them organically, and they're just no different than your original bodies.
Yep.
So yeah, so Altered Carbon, everything, the technology feels a little too easy to attain.
Mhm.
Um,
It's
but that
much
just could
further
be
along.
exactly. It could just be
Mhm.
that it's further along. So,
I guess
but I
sometimes I
still feel
have
like
issue.
they. Oh no, go ahead.
Well, I sometimes still have issues with, like, eh, they gotta watch how many things they make you suspend your disbelief over.
In
Like
which one?
in Altered Carbon,
Okay, all right.
anything that goes real far in the future, um, you just need to be careful with, like, okay, well, this technology we're gonna showcase, and this we're gonna kind of explain
Hmm.
and make this leap with us.
Sure.
And some of the other ones, they start taking that for granted that
Hmm.
you're with them and taking those leaps.
Yep.
So it starts being like, oh, you're gonna okay, so your consciousness has been wirelessly, in a matter of seconds, transferred into this construct, and we're going to
Right.
take your consciousness and move it into this person's body in 2 seconds.
Right.
I mean, like, hold on here, this is an entire person. You are just like going boop, and then you're
Yeah.
switched.
Yes.
um I'm fine. I look, it's a long time in the future. Science fiction. It's
Yeah.
okay. But they need to watch how many jumps they make you take.
Yes.
I had
And
that at the end of season 1 too, to be frank. Because all of a sudden it was like your body was their body was like changing. They were changing shape or something, right? Wasn't
yeah.
weren't they like going on board and they were finding these like bodies, and um uh the AI assistant, Elizabeth, she
Yeah.
was, like, getting inside of the body of
Oh,
someone, and
right,
then
right,
it was
right.
changing
Yeah.
form. It's like, how
Yeah.
is
That was a little
that?
crazy. Yeah. I know what you're talking
S
about now. Yeah.
so, it just
Totally.
one thing at a time where it's like,
Yes.
explain how this is happening to us so I'm
Yes.
not taken out of the moment.
Right. Right. No, totally. I agree. Yeah, and unfortunately, they continue that sort of like ask in that suspension of disbelief in Resleeved. I
Oh,
won't give
okay.
too much away, but they do switch stacks in a sort of like very fluid, easy, like just takes
Okay.
a couple seconds way in a particular scene.
Mhm.
Um, so that is tough. That is something that like pulled me out of that story a little bit because it's like,
Mhm.
wow, that was just like, oh, digital download.
Yep.
Um, so yeah,
I mean,
I agree. That's
that's
tough.
some good 8G technology they got right there.
Right. Right.
And I mean, they also, I think people have trouble sometimes when they're writing a script, and it's easy to write, okay, mother goes to, like, goes into other sleeve and runs to save child, and
Yes.
then, but without understanding in your mind how that needs to be paced on screen,
Right.
because it's like, boom, I'm in this other body.
Right.
Peace out. And then 2 scenes later, if that, I am
Yeah.
back already. So I've
Yeah.
traveled wherever I've gone,
Yep.
across the city or who knows where on this planet, and now I'm back. We're getting into some Game of Thrones fast travel kind of stuff.
Well, and I think they need to pay attention more to the minutia of putting a stack in a new body and figuring out how that body works as a
Yep,
person. You
yep.
know, when people are spun back up, they seem to have a difficult time
Right. That's a
adjusting
good
to a
point.
new body. And
Mhm.
then suddenly, like, you download and you switch and you go into other bodies, and some people just are like, new body, cool, love it,
Right.
running with it. And they seem to have some sort of like grasp on the physicality of moving that body. And I
Yep.
just feel like if I was taken out of my, physical body right now and you placed me into, maybe
My
somebody
body
who's, yeah,
or the
into your
rock.
body. Right. I was gonna say, like, you know, somebody who's like, 6 feet tall and is a guy and, maybe pounds heavier than I am, um, how would I adjust to moving that body?
Yeah.
You know, I feel
Right.
like I would have some trouble with that. And it just seems like things like that are thought of on the one hand and then missed on the other. And it's like, I need that continuity. I need
Yep.
that sort of like attention to detail when you do things like this, because that in the end makes it more believable to
Right.
me,
I
you
mean, it would
know.
make sense that I'm blanking on her name. I should pull it up. The mother in this bounty hunter,
Oh,
um,
Trep.
Trep. Yeah, she so she's jumping in the other body and stuff.
Yeah,
It's
she's in Takeshi's body and she's just like, cool, I'm just gonna like
yeah, I'm
take
just
down
super
these
kung fu
soldiers.
now, and yeah, like all this stuff. Like I know you had
Yeah.
fighting experience. That's fine.
Right,
But
right.
wouldn't it be more interesting, like you say, if it was apparent to someone that she's not Takeshi because she's having those fumbles or something like this is not
Right.
the thing I'm used to kind of stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
Cause yeah, otherwise it's just so easy. So
Yeah.
easy. And yeah, like you say, it was I don't want to give people the impression, for me anyways, that I didn't enjoy season two.
Yeah.
I did enjoy season two. I think that I would recommend watching if you like season one. Um, I just it didn't live up to season 1 for me. It
Yes.
didn't I didn't feel the like you say, the weight of consequences.
Mhm.
I felt like in season 1, the threat of, like, going back on ice for hundreds of years, or "You don't own your body, I can take that away
Right.
from you," all that kind of
Right.
thing. That was an important element to Takeshi Kovacs, and to, like, the detective, that he had befriended, his
Ortega,
family.
yeah.
That was tough they would have to deal with, and
Yeah.
right, and her mom didn't want to come back, and, like, those things for consequence were important, and
Mhm.
I also felt like they did a better job of setting up the world space. Like,
Yes.
it felt like it was far in the future. I understood the kind of, like, areas and power struggles and stuff. It felt more futuristic. This to me felt like it was, 50 years. If it looked a little more futuristic, but it was 50 years ago in South side of Chicago.
Yeah.
Like that's where we're at here.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, you know, kind of dumpy or something. And
Yeah.
I just didn't have that sense of space and the sense of
Mhm.
time and all that.
It wasn't like a complete world the way it felt like in season
Yeah.
1. Like, you
And
felt very grounded in a time and place, and this was a little, yeah, it just wasn't quite the same. Even though, like, we went to Harlan's world,
yeah.
and we were in the same place, and we were in the Nevermore.
Yep.
The Nevermore actually was, like, the most grounding place for me, but everything else was just like, I'm just not sure where
Yeah. Yep.
it doesn't feel the same.
And it's hard to put my finger on that. It's the same with the cinematography. Like
Mhm.
it just does not look as good as the
Yep,
first season.
yep.
And I thought I would get over that. Um, but yeah, it's like they wanted to make another season, but they didn't get the money to do it. Or the people that made the first season are like, we've done
Right.
our bit of
We
this.
felt
Someone
Yeah, we
else.
felt this was complete.
Yeah. Hmm.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I agree. Particularly with, what you said about the first season for Takeshi, him not owning his body and being spun back down was a present threat that,
yep.
felt real and felt like was weighting his actions and was a consequence for some of them. And then in this one, Takeshi is brought back and then the guy who brings him back is immediately killed. So he has like no tether, he has
Oh,
nothing.
right. Yeah. Hmm.
So they basically like put him in this like super high tech body. He doesn't do what he's supposed to do, through not his fault, of course.
Yeah. Hmm.
But then he has this super high tech amazing sleeve and no ties to anybody. Like, so he can just
Hmm.
go do whatever he wants, and it's just like, wow, that was really easy for you.
Yep.
So yeah, so I felt overall that some things in the story were sacrificed so that other things could happen.
Yep.
And unfortunately, you notice those sacrifices. They were things that you kind of need in one form or another.
Yep. Sometimes they need to like put those constraints on themselves a little
Mhm.
more like, okay, that's cool, but I don't think that is feasibly possible, like, within our world or something like that,
Right. Right. Or if
just rein
we
them in a little bit.
right, if we don't have these consequences, what's at stake? What
Yeah,
matters?
right.
What gives something weight and gravity? If, can you make the same choices if you know that something could happen because of
Yep.
them?
I mean, that's where, like, Poe's story and stuff was more emotional because his whole being was at stake. Like, he'd be
Right.
back, but it would just be a blank slate. So
Right. And we're
that's
invested in the Poe that's gotten to
yeah,
know
yeah,
Takeshi and, experience that sort of thing.
right. He's developed a personality over
Mhm.
time, created who he is, and
Right. Yeah, yeah, it especially felt poignant because he was in the Nevermore alone for so long. As we find out in
Mhm.
the first season, like, they haven't had people in there for a really long time.
Yep,
And so then, him befriending Takeshi was, like, really momentous for him
yep,
because he really feels like Takeshi is his friend,
yep,
and for him to be losing his friends and going back to that, like, blank empty space is very terrifying.
yep. And it's again like pace stuff then and like how it sounds in script versus in practice. Cause like, oh my God, we need to calculate where this thing is and where it's
Right.
gonna come together and like we're gonna do our stuff. And then let me let's pour a drink and
Yeah.
let's have a little chat here.
Yep.
But what do you think of so you had put in the notes about the elder
Yeah.
Hellcrest Falconer and the elder
Yeah.
and
I
the
thought
former race and all that stuff. What do you think of that?
I did like it. I thought it was very plausible um explanation for some things that were happening. I felt for the elder. Um and I got, its motivations. I liked it because for me it explained Kel's memory gap, and her sort of like not knowing Takeshi
Yep.
because her stack had been infected. And that
Yep.
to me was far more interesting of a storyline than, like, you know, when Ray had kept her trapped, she messed with her stack to make her forget Takeshi. Because I feel like I've heard that storyline before.
Sure.
Like somebody's ex lover or family member, like sister, messes with, another person because they're like, no, you shouldn't be with them. I should be with them, or somebody else should be with them, or whatever.
Sure.
So I've heard that storyline before, and I was like super not interested in that. And I thought this explanation of, Kel being infected by the elder and her stack being tampered with, and she's sort of like juggling dual personalities,
Yep.
without fully understanding what's going on. I thought that was
Yep.
really a compelling storyline and a cool um ascription to her motivations about, like, why she was just going around randomly killing people.
Yep.
Not so random, as we find out.
Right. Yeah. No, I did like that as well. I liked seeing the creature that used to
Mhm.
inhabit the planet.
Yeah.
Be interesting to know a little more about that because clearly, like you say, they came to the planet, scanned for life, and nothing. It showed nothing above
Mhm.
ground. So there was
Right.
some below. So, like the tree they found was the only bit left, like all that was left of the life on that planet. Like, what happened? Like, how did it get to
Right.
that point then? Because it seemed
Right.
like the founders killed the children of it. Like, where was the adult then, or whatever? Like,
Right.
I'm just,
Yeah.
I guess they
Yeah,
kind
why
of
was it
lived.
looks like these, like, few life forms left? Because there were clearly multiple elders, but,
Yeah.
like, there seemed to be, what, like, 7 or 8 of them shown on screen, and they just, like, killed them.
Hmm.
It was real
Hmm.
easy.
Yeah. I don't know. It was just like be interesting to know what happened on the planet
Yeah.
other than that to lead to where they could just go in a room and shoot these up, and whatever was left on that planet is dead that they
Right.
can now move in.
Yeah, I agree. I felt like I liked that backstory, but I would have liked more
Hmm.
to understand, like you said, how they got to this, like, oh, dwindling life on this planet.
Yep. And I
Um
think that could have been filled in more by one of the archaeologues along the way at
mhm.
some point. It could have been investigated
Yeah.
a little more.
Yeah, I kind of kept waiting for that to pop back up, with Miss Dig
Hmm.
talking about working on it. I expected something more to that storyline, I guess.
Hmm.
Something connecting the two. But
Yep.
who knows if there was and they thought that they didn't have enough time to
Right.
fit all of that in. Um, Although, I mean, you could have, since this season was only 8 episodes and the first was 10. I mean, clearly they could have,
Yep.
you know, had a few more
Yep.
potentially, but who
Or
knows?
maybe there's something they could have cut, something that was a little like errand feeling or something. Because I felt it really moved pretty. I mean, it moved rapidly, moved pretty well at the end or whatever.
Yeah,
And it was a little slower to start,
I agree.
so they maybe could have trimmed.
Yeah.
Hmm. Well, any other thoughts? I mean, like you said, I didn't get to watch recent anime short
Yeah.
movie that's on Netflix, but
Yeah.
I mean, ultimately for
Yeah.
season two, I think you should watch it if you really liked
Mhm.
season one and you're
Agreed.
into kind of cyberpunky stuff. What do you think of the anime?
So again, I would say it's something that if you're into Altered Carbon, like you should watch, because it's another, I think, chapter in Takeshi's story, and it gives you a little bit more, maybe an understanding of his character, and it kind of fills in some of like the gap periods where he's like between what we see in the live action Altered Carbon.
Okay.
Um, because they obviously talk about him being spun down and spun back up and
Yeah.
reference like other things that he's done without, us ever getting to see those. And so this sort of felt like one of those like, yeah, let me, take one of those time periods and like throw a story in there and, maybe this will give you an idea of like other things that Takeshi's done. So I think that was kind of fun. It was a little hard to place at first,
Okay.
because I had sort of thought that it was between seasons 1 and 2, and I think it's actually pre-season 1.
Okay.
So like after it's sort of like one of those stories that maybe happened between Stronghold, and everything that happened there, and then Takeshi being spun up for season 1.
Sure. Okay.
So that was a little hard to place at first, but it was fun. It was a good story, and it sort of explains a little bit, I think, of Takeshi's ties with the Yakuza, and
Okay.
which, of course, like inform his experience about like how devastated he was to learn that Ray was sold to them
Yep.
because, she was just a child. So that informs some of that. And then also, I think in this season, showing his ties with the one of the Yakuza bosses on Harlan's world, sort of gives him some background for how he met them.
Okay.
Um, so yeah, so it was a good story, gives you little like background peeks into Takeshi. The anime style, I loved the art. And like
Okay.
I had predicted that I was gonna love the tattooing, and I did. I totally did. It was amazing and it was beautiful. I really liked a lot of like the animation style in the fight sequences.
Okay.
Um, but I definitely think were some issues with, um they had issues with motion. Motion didn't always look quite natural and
Okay.
in other parts of the
Sure.
storyline. And I think it's because they probably spent so much budget on like making these
Yeah.
fight sequences
That
look really
seems more
cool.
common. Yeah.
Yeah, you just have to sacrifice in other areas, but
Yeah.
unfortunately it was a little tough sometimes.
Okay. But
Um
you're okay with it being 3D, the CGI kind of style?
I was mostly. There were definitely
Okay.
moments where like, "Oh, I hate this." Like these super like intense close-up face shots, I really hated.
Okay.
That was too much for me. Or there was like this one extended chase scene in the beginning, and that's where I think there was some motion,
Okay.
where this girl's like running, and it was just like, "Oh my god, this is not how people run. This is so unnatural."
Nice. Okay, yeah.
So that was tough, but but other moments I think were really beautiful. Like I said, these fight sequences were really cool.
Nice.
And then there's like a club scene that actually sort of ended up working for me, I think.
Okay.
So good
I
and bad elements. But yeah, the tattooing was absolutely my favorite part,
I
and
guess
is a
that
key element to the story.
nice. That's cool. Maybe I'll
So
come away inspired for a new tattoo.
Yeah, it's very cool. You don't see a lot of the tattooing, but you see obviously the results of the
Yeah.
tattoos, and
Hmm.
they're beautiful.
I guess I don't know why I say like if we should, what's should you watch season two and like what your recommendation is because Lord, I hope if you're watching this, you have seen season two. Um,
True, true.
so yep.
Although, I mean, some people I think get halfway into a season and stop and they're like, "Oh, I feel like I need somebody to tell me like a little bit about it and like what happens and if,
Yeah.
you know,
Some
you should
people
see it."
don't they just care about the journey. And so
Yep.
like sometimes the endings don't matter and the
Yep.
big things. Um, I'm not that way usually,
No.
but
I
I mean,
I
yeah.
usually don't like things being spoiled for me,
Mhm.
but
The I guess the last Star Wars movie was different because, but I was ready to hate that anyway, so doesn't count.
yeah, that's a preformed opinion that
Yeah.
I mean really
Hmm.
can't be swayed too much, I think.
Yep. Hmm.
So,
So
but yeah, I liked Resleeved. I thought it, like I said, it was sort of a fun little side journey, and it definitely left it open to the possibility that there would be others, which I think
okay,
could be cool.
sure. Yeah.
So,
Well, nice. Well, Altered Carbon.
yes, again,
That's
still into it. Still go watch it.
yeah, nice.
Still high on my ranking of shows. I think.
Great. Well, that's good. What's next for you? What's the next big thing you have to see?
Well, I obviously have to finish Tiger King now that I'm invested in it.
Yep.
But um, the other big show that I'm watching right now is Hunters, which I really enjoy.
Mm,
It's a
yeah, you
very
have to
good
talk
show.
about that a little bit. Is it well when it's done, I suppose? Is it still actively
Yeah,
going? Or are they really
it's actively running right now.
okay.
So I think actually I do have one that I do need to watch now. Um,
Okay.
but yeah, it's very good. It's set in the 70s, which I'm like super into right now. And
Mm,
the production design team and costume design teams have done like stellar jobs of
nice.
setting you in 1970s America.
Nice.
Um, so yeah, I'm having a lot of fun with it. Pacino is a great actor, really brings it for this role.
Okay.
But the everybody in the supporting cast I think is solid as well.
Nice.
So
I've never been a big Pacino guy. He's kind of like, oh, Pacino's Pacino, but
yeah,
he's
it
getting
was
in more things now. So
it's nice to see him sort of like out of like a predetermined box. Like,
yeah, right.
he's playing a Jewish man in 1970s America rather than like some like mob gangster
Right.
stereotypical, like
Yep.
Italian. So I think it's fun to see him in something else,
Yeah.
something that's different.
Nice.
So,
Okay. Well, we just passed the 90-minute mark.
yeah,
Um, everybody,
lots to
we
say
had,
as usual.
yeah, we had one viewer for a while. Probably scared him away with, I mean, extra spoilers. He said he hadn't seen season two yet.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Um,
Well, he can come
the,
back and watch after, see if he
that's
agrees
right.
with us.
Yep. Make sure to follow on here and share.
Mhm.
And this will be on YouTube before long and in podcast form.
Yep.
Like, share, review.
Go to
Follow us on
Facebook.
Twitter. Yeah. Hmm.
Yep, I post everything that we do, obviously, to both Twitter and Facebook, so you can access our shows there if you'd like to.
Nice. All
Mhm.
right. Well, thanks for joining me again, Andrea.
Yeah, happy Saturday. Good
Yes.
conversation.
Bye.
Cheers.